Welcome to Build Brunch, the daily morning show where we talk about the latest topics in entertainment. I'm Brittany Jones-Cooper.
I'm Shannon Coffey.
I'm Britt Morin. I'm Allie Colbert.
And I'm Lucas Sim. Hi, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about the news that's giving Orange is the New Black fans all the feels. Sorry, I'm getting emotional thinking about it.
It's okay.
Peter Dinklage's interesting bromance with co-star Jamie Dornan, and a new study on female guitar players. Plus, period power author Nadya Okamoto joins the table. But first...
Guys, I have a really fun first course for you today.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Nebraska released their new tourism campaign, and it said, honestly, it's not for everyone. Was the slogan. And I'm from Nebraska. Obviously, this is my Husker mug. And I think it's so funny to have that self-deprecating slogan because Nebraska does get a bad
So what would, like, if someone was to visit Nebraska, other than to visit you, what would they do?
Corn
like, what's to
field.
do in Nebraska?
We've got plenty of corn, that's true. Football is huge, so going to a Husker game on a Husker Saturday is a massive experience and so much fun. In Omaha, the College World Series every year, if you like baseball, the Henry Dorley Zoo, guys, was the #1 zoo in the nation, like several years in a row.
Really?
Guys, fun fact, unemployment in Nebraska is the second lowest in the country. So maybe if you don't want to visit
Is that because
there...
there's like 3 people?
Yeah.
No, it's because we have a robust economy. It is a really amazing place to live. Like, the actual state motto is the good life. So I say, even if you visit, maybe give it 2 days, but if you're looking to, like, have a
2
nice...
days max.
2 days max,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
you
be
can
honest.
pretty much
2 days
see
is
it all.
good. But if you want to live in a really great place with great schools, good jobs, safe, it's great.
And my one friend from Nebraska turned out pretty well.
Does that mean? Thanks, guys.
She moved out of Nebraska. What does that tell you?
I did leave. It's not for everyone, okay? It's not for everyone. But it was an amazing place for me to grow up.
I love it.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, go Nebraska.
Go Nebraska.
All right, everyone. It's time to be #basic and talk about the favorite fall trend that we all hate to love, pumpkin spice. Pumpkin spice comes in all shapes and sizes, including lattes, cereal, Buffalo Wild Wings, and more. Pumpkin spice. In order to celebrate fall and pumpkin spice, we are all drinking pumpkin spice lattes.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. And we have pumpkin flavored
Cheers.
treats. Pass that pumpkin pie over here, because I want some.
First
I was gonna say, can we get our little pieces first?
Yeah.
And then,
That is my favorite
Wait.
treat, though. Pumpkin pie is like...
People
Head is
love
this
pumpkin.
on this plate?
So wait, do you guys actually order like a pumpkin spice latte this time of year? Is that something you do?
Isn't that a, what's his name from Animal House?
Yeah, this plate, it's like a surprise underneath the pumpkin pie. There's somebody.
Oh.
You know, I'm a little over the pumpkin thing. I don't know. There's just pumpkin everything now. There's pumpkin dog food. I'm not joking. I'm like, does my dog need to know it's fall?
Why
I'm
not?
Sure.
Why not? He likes leaves.
The chicken wings thing is probably the most disgusting thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, that is gross. Pumpkin doesn't go with...
Chicken wings, no.
Yeah, people are... My dad hates pumpkin. I don't know why I feel like saying that. He's just always... every time I eat pumpkin anything, he's like, pumpkin's good for carving, and that's all.
Is pumpkin pie the best pie?
Not for me.
Well,
I am
like
enjoying
it.
this,
I
though.
think it's
So
good.
good.
I don't mind the pumpkin spice flavors. I feel like it gets a lot of hate, but it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Is it like
It's
the
just, like,
candy
not that
cane of
great,
fall?
you know?
Do you think it's gonna last forever though? I don't feel like when I was younger, pumpkin spice was this big of a deal. It's like the last 5 to 10 years
Yeah.
it's become a big deal. So, will our children know like it's fall when pumpkin spice comes out, or
I
is it
think
gonna
so.
fade?
Your
at some
children
point?
won't be driving.
children-
They won't know it's fall.
Yeah, like they're gonna have the worst lives ever.
I think that people like pumpkin spice because of the nostalgia that surrounds it.
Yeah.
And I think it has a bit to do with the flavor and a lot to do with people missing their mommy.
Right.
I think also basic things like Ugg boots and pumpkin spice lattes, like once they're introduced to us, never go away.
just cozy.
Yeah.
I think it's just forever. Like, we're
Yeah.
stuck with Ugg boots
We're
forever.
still haunted by Ugg boots.
Yeah, it's
They'll
amazing.
never
Do you
leave.
own Ugg boots?
No, I don't.
No, but Shia LaBeouf does, and that's really important because he looks so good in Ugg boots. It's like, you want to hate Ugg boots, and then Shia runs out in them, and you're like, oh my God, you're disgusting. I love it.
Yeah. Uggs, why are Uggs are kind of like pumpkin spice.
They are. There's like these basic things that like we can't get rid of.
Yeah, but isn't it fun to be basic? Like we like being basic because it's fun. Like those things are easy to love. You know?
Yeah, basic people are people too, and we should let them live their lives. You know, we need to like represent everyone, even the people who we don't like and are boring and wear Uggs without socks and sweat in them, even though they were just supposed to be house slippers in Australia.
That's so true.
Do people in other countries eat pumpkin spice things? And like, is this an American trend?
It feels distinctly American. I don't know.
Cold-blooded American.
I don't know.
American
It's kind of
trend.
like eating a
Pumpkin
candle.
spice.
Eating a candle?
I was just thinking.
Isn't this flavor sort of like more aromatic than it is?
I've never eaten a candle.
No,
You're missing out. I don't know what's your problem. I'm munching on candles
This is
all
good.
day.
Whatever cookie this is good.
You know, when people say it's like eating a candle, they don't mean that they actually ate a candle.
I've never heard that phrase before, so I'm not sure.
Shannon, you've heard it, right?
No, I just eat candles.
I see it all the time. But I also do love fall, so I like the idea of what pumpkin spice represents, which is a good thing, even though we were joking about we moved back from LA and like falls lasted like 2 minutes here in New York, but I was really excited for fall in New York City.
Yeah.
I think we had like a Saturday.
There's no seasons here. Everybody's like, I love New York, the seasons. I was like, this is just a fucking tundra 24/7.
I went from summer, literally in one day, I'm in Central Park, the breeze, the sun, I'm wearing a vest, wow, and the next day is 30 degrees, it's so cold, there's snow coming down.
You guys, you're over-exaggerating. We're still in fall. The leaves are still changing. If you want to go leaf peeping, now's the perfect time.
Leaf peeping?
That's what
I
they
don't
call
know if they do
it.
that in Nebraska, bitch.
Yeah.
We don't do that
That sounds very inappropriate. You should be on Dateline
That
leaf peeping.
sounds sketchy.
Let me
that
tell you
just
something about leaf peeping.
Okay.
It is a very popular activity for people who like to see the changing of colors. On the East Coast specifically, if you travel up to Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, leaf peeping is a very
My
popular
uncle
event.
leaf peeped and is in jail for life.
Is that literally just looking at leaves and being like, blink, blink,
Yeah.
blink? Is that it? Like, I peep the leaves.
Yeah, it's literally just looking at the changing color of leaves.
Wow.
So you can go leaf
Log roll,
peeping
man.
in Central Park if you want. It might be a little early.
A little early.
Yeah.
Watch out for the genital peepers in
Yeah,
Central
that's
Park,
true.
though. There's a lot of those.
Yeah,
Different
leaf
types of
peeping.
leaves.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? No, I'm leaf peeping. All good. Okay.
There's no leaves in my
We got a
tortilla.
leaf peeper. 526, we got a leaf peeper down on that
You
shit.
guys just tainted something for me. That's what you did.
You ruined it for
Just
me.
now. You ruined it for me.
And then carving pumpkins is fun. I love that.
It's the best.
Do you still do that?
Not recently, but I want to.
Wait.
But I used to put so much pressure on myself as a child to carve the perfect pumpkin. I was like, what design do I do? What kind of face? Do I want to do a castle on it? Ended up just doing a regular job. Like, I was like, I can't do this.
Right.
But the best is the pumpkin seeds, the guts. Like, I have 2 little kids now, so like we scrape it all up. They get gooey, and then we like. You're like, I don't like being dirty. No, the seeds are amazing. You can make pumpkin things out of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a pumpkin is multifaceted.
It is.
Multi-use.
So wait,
I'm
Britt,
really
what is
excited.
one thing I can make from the pumpkin guts? Because I didn't know that was a thing.
Pumpkin soup?
See,
Pumpkin bread.
Pumpkin soup, bread?
Pumpkin
Okay.
bread. Oh, pumpkin bread with chocolate chips in it.
All right.
A little cinnamon on
That's
top.
good, yeah.
That sounds really
There's
good.
some recipes on Brit and Co. We got
I've never,
you.
we just always threw it in the trash and went moving.
Nebraska, baby.
Well, speaking of orange things, orange is officially fading to black. Netflix has announced that the upcoming 7th season of their Emmy-winning prison dramedy Orange is the New Black will be its last. The ladies of Litchfield were pretty emotional about the news and took to social media to reflect with a celebratory goodbye video. Let's take a look.
Hey y'all, we got some news.
The final season is coming.
The final season of Orange.
The last season.
Season 7, it is the end.
And I'm going to miss playing and living on the edge of one of the most groundbreaking, original, and controversial series of this decade.
7 years been a hell of a ride.
I am so grateful for the fun times, the knowledge, the friendships, the love, the family that we have created together.
But the one thing is our relationships will continue after the show.
What I will miss most after 7 seasons is you, the fans.
I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart.
It's been an amazing journey, an amazing experience. Thank you so much for all of your support.
I'm going to miss the hell out of this TV show. I love you. I love our whole TV show.
Season 7, you will not be disappointed. It is a season you will not forget, and we are going to give you everything and more that you could have ever wanted.
Everything we got.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Wow.
This is a big deal. I mean, I remember.
about time.
Yeah. Well, I actually stopped watching Orange after season 4, not just because there's so many shows of,
So much.
hard to watch TV. I remember when Orange came out because that really, with House of Cards, put Netflix on the map. And this show in particular, before what shows are doing now, was putting women and women of color on the map and in TV and with a lot of money behind them, behind and in front of the scenes. So this show, you know, no matter what, how it's kind of gone up and down for the final few seasons, it's such a groundbreaking show and will be remembered as, you know, one of probably the most important shows in TV history, probably.
I agree. The ways they explored sexuality, identity, and race with a group of women, I think, was just so fresh and new, which is what made it. It wasn't the most popular show on Netflix or like the highest rated, or something, like most viewed show on Netflix.
But there weren't that many shows on Netflix when it came out, so there wasn't as much competition.
That's fair.
And it was so, I mean, so many Orange, because, you know, first season of Orange is the New Black was nominated in the comedy categories with great lines like, there I was, barbecue sauce on my titties. Pasty says that. Literally, I would quote that every day, which is inappropriate, but it was funny. And the next season was nominated in the drama category. So it was kind of the show that bended genres and like everything. It just was so unique.
Yeah, I'm curious how they will wrap it up, because it's not like they've all finished serving their time. The prison won't shut down. Like, we're just gonna leave some of them in prison and we're like, good luck to you. Like, it's not really a peaceful ending knowing that we're leaving these women in jail.
Well, I'm assuming Piper's gonna get out.
Piper already got out.
Oh, she already got out.
Yeah.
You watched, okay.
Yeah, I still watch the show. Yeah, I still watch the show.
What happened to her? Is she visiting people back in
Piper
China?
Really, her sentence was only like 11 months, and so they really stretched it out for the series. So I think they were finally like, we've got to let her out of jail.
Yeah.
And so she's gone. So it'll be interesting to see how she acclimates back into her real life, because obviously everything got kind of disjointed. But some of the women are going to be in prison for life sentences. We learned that last sentence. Some of their sentences got prolonged.
Is Alex?
So some of them are going to stay. I'm sorry, Allie. They're not all going to get out.
Yeah. What about her and Alex? Are they together?
Alex is still currently incarcerated.
Wow.
So we'll see. But they're still in love. And so we'll see if they're able to navigate that. But I'm a big fan of the show, and especially the women in this cast, I think, have all done this amazing job of advocating for prison reform and women's rights outside of the work they're doing on the show.
Yeah.
So that's also been really refreshing. Is they have this new brand of activism that they all got from this show as well.
And launched so many those actors into stardom. Laverne Cox has become an icon in her own right. And then, you know, Danielle Brooks been on Broadway. Like, they all do so much outside of the show, and like, such great careers. So it's really exciting to see what they're doing now, what they'll do next.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, in other news, Peter Dinklage is the newest visitor to the Red Room. The Game of Thrones star is co-starring with Jamie Dornan in the new HBO film My Dinner with Herve, and recently dished on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert about how he channeled 50 Shades of Grey's Anastasia Steele to help Dornan prepare for the role of Christian Grey. Let's take a look.
That's so funny.
He has a curious accent. He's
Peter
like,
Dinklage?
yeah. He was like, I was doing the Dakota Johnson. Like, where are you from?
It's his Game of Thrones accent.
Yeah,
I think he's become that character in real life.
It sounds like that.
Yeah.
It's like Madonna. He just started speaking like Tyrion.
Yeah, that fake British accent. Yeah, that's so funny. I mean, this HBO movie I actually have not seen. I just watched the trailer for it last night. I haven't seen that much press for it, but that's kind of an interesting pair, and I love Peter Dinklage, so I'm gonna watch. But it is funny imagining him doing the Dakota Johnson part in 50 Shades of Grey. I've never even seen those films, but I can imagine I know what they're about. So.
Oh, why haven't you seen them?
What are they about, Lucas?
Did you read the book?
Time, fun time, holding hands and kissing. Right?
Holding hands and kissing.
Yeah, masochistic stuff going down in that film, which I feel like is like resemblance of Game of Thrones.
Right.
So maybe he was the perfect counterpoint to practice the line.
He did strangle his ex-girlfriend on Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I was going to say there is some overlap
and
there.
kill his father on the toilet. So he's done shit.
Did you guys read the book?
Well, they had it coming.
Yeah.
Those people who he strangled and murdered, they really were not cool people.
That's true.
Yeah.
I stand with Tyrion as well.
Yeah, right?
For sure.
I like that. I like thinking about him delivering these lines, though, because you know he wouldn't change his, like, whole tone. He'd just be like, yes, please, spank me. And you're like, oh, okay. That's it.
That is true. It'd almost be worse than the actual... you mentioned the books. I read the first book.
I read the first book. I know I watched the first movie. I couldn't get past that. But I remember being, like, on a plane, and, like, I didn't even have the Kindle version. I was, like, reading the real thing, and some woman looks over at me and goes, mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh,
I was
hate
like,
that.
oh my God, it's like I'm looking at porn on the plane, and she knows
You were.
that. I mean, it felt a little bit like that. I'm like Southern good girl from Texas, so I was just like, what is this book about? Everyone's talking about it.
It's very much porn.
Isn't it the
like
pumpkin
girl porn.
spice latte version of porn?
Yes.
It's like the basic girl porn where she's like, I can't really deal with this, but oh my God, he works at a job and he has money and he has a gag ball. And that's it. It's like, not that.
It got a little It got in
I've seen
there.
the movies. It's not that crazy.
The movies did not get as detailed as the book, and like she really goes into more.
Give me a detail.
Yeah.
Is it like
So
the beehole spread? Like how intense are we getting?
Well, they talk about like those weighted balls, you know, that you can use to strengthen your vagina, and he like put them inside of her and made her walk around with them, and they're.
That sounds like a regular Tuesday.
Okay.
Like, you guys don't all have balls in your holes that you're tightening in right now?
I don't. I can't say that.
Wow.
I don't.
Lucas?
I feel so alone right now. I thought we were all squeezing balls in.
We want you to have freedom with your yoni balls. Like,
Yeah. Okay, but I thought we were as a group. I thought we were all just squeezing them in right now.
Exactly.
Okay, at least Lucas and I.
Lucas is doing.
Yeah, he's keeping it tight and right.
Always.
Do you think?
Always.
Do you think Dakota Johnson can move on from this and be a different character? Because this like
She's
really
trying.
set her up.
I think because if they don't let her dad will definitely hold a gun to some casting director's head. He doesn't seem that stable.
Don Johnson.
Yeah.
Don Johnson.
They're gonna, Well, it's interesting for him too, doing this HBO movie to see if he can move beyond being Christian Grey.
Christian
right?
Grey.
Yes.
I mean, which is such a hard role to follow.
Yeah, she's in a new movie. Isn't she in that new like spooky movie with Cynthia Erivo and one of the Hemsworth brothers? It's like a haunted hotel sort of situation.
Oh yeah.
I think she's in that movie.
Is she not in the Suspiria?
Yes,
Is
Suspiria.
that what it is too?
That's like
A different
Black
one?
Swan meets.
Oh yeah, the dancing one. We watched put the trailer on the show.
we watched that.
Yeah.
I
I
think
think
she
she
can move
stands
on.
a better chance than he does.
Totally.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
He'll always be Christian Grey.
Yeah, at
No,
least
he'll
to
just
you,
always
right?
be no one. Right?
Christian.
Is he in other stuff?
I don't know. Well, a new study by guitar company Fender shows that 50% of new guitar players are women in both the United States and the United Kingdom. Artists such as pop singer Taylor Swift and female pop band Haim are inspiring women to pick up a guitar and learn to play. This is exciting.
It is. Yeah. I just wish we would stop giving Taylor credit or like for anything.
But she
Bringing back
invented guitars.
guitar playing.
Are you
she's everything.
anti-Taylor?
Oh yeah. I'm not anti. I just don't understand. I just don't
Do you love Taylor?
understand.
I'll just get out of the way. You guys can claw it out.
Let me state it right now. I am not anti-Taylor. I think she's a great songwriter, and I love that she's so loyal to her fan base.
Right.
I personally do not understand her at all.
You haven't tried hard enough.
Oh,
clearly.
The Taylor Swift army is so wild.
Yeah.
I am a Swiftie.
Yeah, that's good for you.
I just decided to say that.
I'm surprised you're not like, actually, I gave Taylor Swift her first guitar. That seems like something you would say.
Come into my house tomorrow night. We're just gonna hang out. No, I think Taylor Swift is like the first young female role model in a long time. Like when we grew up, we had like Britney and like Britney just launched a Las Vegas residency called Domination. It's like definitely 50 Shades of Grey.
Totally.
But like Taylor is still a little bit fun-loving. I mean, this Reputation thing, she was trying to be sketchy. But
trying to be dark.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's great. She's a real artist. She's playing guitar. She's really singing. She's not lip syncing.
What did you think about her AMA's performance? Did you get a satanic vibe from that? Because I thought she definitely was like being like, I love the devil, and I was like, oh, satanic Taylor Swift is my favorite.
Well, because I was front row at her concert a couple months ago, I knew that she actually performed like that on stage, so it didn't even surprise me.
All right. So, but you are down with the devil? That's great. Okay, awesome. That's all I needed to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
But on the guitar front, there's this new guitar, I'm blanking what it's called, but you can put your iPhone into it, and then it teaches you how to play the guitar through an app on your phone.
That's pretty cool.
It's like really cool how technology has enabled young people to learn how to play instruments, and actually instruments are connected themselves now too.
Before it was just the tabs, so it's cool to know that they're, because like you can go online and get the tabs for your, but it's cool that you can incorporate it now into the guitar.
Yeah, well, there's so many tutorials on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
That you can just learn how to play anything.
But this study's cool though, and like I remember when Beyonce had her all-female band, and I just watched her Super Bowl performance yesterday because why not? I just wanted to. And she has a guitar player come out doing Crazy in Love, and she gives her such like praise, and I feel like that was also a big transformative thing when like Beyonce was like, I'm only hiring women band members, because the conception is only men play rock and roll, only men play drums or guitar, and that's clearly not true. So I think like this is a great thing that more women are playing these rock instruments.
Yeah. Michael Jackson also had a female guitarist that he really highlighted, and she blew up after.
During Black and White, when he would come up and then she would come out and he would.
No, but even in his last tour, he had this really young guitarist that he found on YouTube, I think, and she's really like touring and stuff on her own because Michael helped like lift her up.
Didn't Prince also have a female guitarist?
Yeah.
That's not Sheila E., is it?
No, she was a drummer.
Okay.
Sheila E.
Still super awesome.
Do you guys play instruments?
Nope.
No.
I do. I play guitar.
Yeah.
I had a guitar and termites ate my guitar.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah.
That's like what you said to your teacher. Like,
No,
I'm sorry, I
for real.
couldn't practice my music today.
I like stopped practicing for just a little bit, and literally termites ate the shit out of it.
Wow. We'll get you a new one.
Yeah.
Let's do a GoFundMe.
Also, where are you living?
You know what? I don't know. If you want to help me out, I do have a GoFundMe.
Okay, cool.
There are a couple of really amazing musicians that I follow on. One is Emily Browning. If you don't follow her, she's really fun on Instagram. She does her own original music, and then she does covers of like Tom Misch and John Mayer. And she's this young girl from New Zealand, and she's just fire. So it's like, I love seeing these young musicians having a platform like YouTube and now Instagram to like elevate themselves even more. And I think that's another reason why young girls have gotten more into it, because there's more.
There's one in the country music world I love named Lindsay L. So she's like the up and coming Carrie Underwood. She's like 29, but she can like rip the crap out of a guitar. So follow her. She's like John Mayer. She's been out on tour with Keith Urban. I'm from Texas. I like the country. So just saying, give her a little peek.
It's
on
so
Instagram.
cool. Guitar playing is so cool. I can't play any instrument. I quit 4th grade band. I quit piano.
Recorder?
All I can do is like dance a little bit.
You know you can dance a lot.
You can dance pretty well.
Yeah, I was body rolling
Your
before the
body's
show
your
started.
instrument.
Well, when did you used to play in band then?
Oh, I did sax when I was horrible.
I did saxophone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then I quit.
Yeah, I quit too.
No.
Anyway, moving on. Now it's time for our guest. Nadya Okamoto is the founder and executive director of Period, a youth-run organization that celebrates and provides menstrual hygiene through many platforms. Today, she is here to discuss her new book, Period Power, which explores the stigmas around menstruation while creating a strategy to stop the silence. Everyone, please give a warm Bill Brunch welcome to Nadya Okamoto.
Hi, Lucas. Nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Allie.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. My hair.
Hello, Nadya.
Hi. Nadia. Thanks for being here.
Nice to meet you. Take a seat. Let me see this book.
Yes.
First question is, I love this hand symbol, which I've never seen. Is that something that's like widespread?
Well, I just did it back then. They're like, what is that? And I was like, it's a uterus.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love
are
it.
the
We're going to
little
see this
ovaries.
hand symbol more and more, I feel like, after this book comes out. So it's pretty self-explanatory, Period Power, but why did you want to write this book right now?
So I really wanted to write this book because I feel like the work that I do in what we call the menstrual movement, which is the fight for equitable access to menstrual hygiene and breaking the stigma around periods, I felt like we needed a book to sort of claim that this movement is real, right? Like this isn't just me and some friends getting together on the weekends putting together period packs anymore, but we're a real national movement trying to fight for social and systemic change. And I think that in this world, although some people might think books are outdated, I felt like a book is like, here's our manifesto and like why I think that this movement is real and like we're really doing this work for this overall movement towards gender equality.
And what was the process like for you? Because the thing I loved about it is that there's guides, there's history, you reference different religions and the impact of sex and menstruation. Like, there was a lot of information and work, so what was your process like getting it done?
So I wrote the book in like a month.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Even the research?
Yeah, so I basically locked myself in the Schlesinger Library, which is this like feminist library at Harvard, during December. And then January, I was on winter break from Harvard and wrote the book.
Wow.
And I just basically would lock myself into rooms, and it was a conglomerate of different Google Docs. And I didn't actually see the final copy or read it until my audiobook recording because I was so nervous about it. That was sort of my process.
That's really impressive.
To be partnered with on group projects and
Or
stuff.
the word.
Yeah. So I feel like there's still a stigma about periods, even though women have had them since eternity. And so, like, why can't we talk about periods more? Is there something holding us back from being more open about it?
I mean, I think that for so long, even though people have been menstruating since the beginning of humankind, and that's what makes human life possible, like it's very much, I think, periods are sort of known as this private thing often associated with sex, and like when a woman transitions from girlhood into womanhood, and even more stigmatized for people who don't identify as women but still get their periods. But I think that it's because in our society, you're just taught to not talk about periods publicly, or only say in like really quiet circles, right? And when it is talked about publicly, it's usually in sort of a shameful way, right? There are still parts of this world where when a girl gets their period, it's the time of month where they drop out of school, get married early, undergo female genital mutilation, or social isolation. And as you said, like there are like religious texts that talk about how like your period is a sign of being punished, right, for being a woman or for the prior sins of women, right? So I think that there's this stigma around just don't talk about periods, and when periods are talked about, it's in a sort of shaming sort of way.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
So how do you think we combat that, and like how do we get women talking about their periods from a young age, or kids in general, men and women?
Well, I always say like the first step is just to say the word period, right? Like it's people still struggle with saying the word period and say the time of month or right like on the
Shark
rag.
Week.
Like Shark Week,
That's what we
strawberry,
call it.
you know. So I think that my first step is always like just say the word period. It's not a bad word. Like when I started this organization, we're actually called Camions of Care because even in 2014 we couldn't really say the word in mainstream media, and that was 4 years ago, right? I still do radio interviews and then get calls a few weeks later saying they can't talk about menstruation on radio because it breaks some sort of rule that you can't talk about bodily fluids on radio, right?
Wow.
There are still, and it wasn't until 1998 that the word period was even said on TV until a Tampax commercial with Courtney Cox.
That's amazing.
So it's like pretty recent that it's starting to hit mainstream media, right? So I always say like, it really is just talking about it as a natural bodily function that happens to the majority of the human population for over 40 years of our life on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
But also talk about like why we need to talk about this, right? We need to break the stigma around menstruation because we still have so much work to do to break the systemic barriers that hinder people from discovering their full potential, right? Still in the US, 36 states have a sales tax on period products because they're considered luxury items. Meanwhile, products like Rogaine and Viagra are considered essential goods and don't have a tax, right?
Viagra?
So that's for me
Ain't
as,
that a
like,
bitch.
as like a young feminist, I was always like, are you kidding me?
Right.
Old man hair growth and erections are more of a necessity than over half of our population feeling clean, confident, capable 100% of the time, right?
Yeah.
So I think that that's why explaining to people like we need to talk about this because if we don't, it will continue to go unaddressed for people who can't afford period products or will continue to have these inequities because of the stigma.
How do you think things would be different if men got their periods?
Well, you know, Gloria Steinem actually wrote this, you know, this piece called "If Men Could Menstruate" in like the 1980s, and it's this one of my favorite pieces, and I write about it in the book. But it's basically this idea of men had their periods, like we would have, you know, contests of whose float was heavier, right? It would be some sort of national like holiday for it. It would like if you have a heavier flow, you'll get the higher position in politics, right? So I think that, and it would also be, you know. One of the things we're trying to fight for is access to period products in restrooms, right? So in school restrooms especially. But I think that if men had their periods, you would find period products as easily accessible as toilet paper in any restroom, right?
Absolutely.
Right now, if you walked into a bathroom and there was no toilet paper, you'd be sort of upset, right? Because you need to go to the bathroom, like whether you like it or not, at random parts of the day. It's the same thing with periods. And so that's one of the things we're fighting for, of treat toilet paper and access to toilet paper the same as we want it to.
Hell yeah.
That's so important.
So I was a very competitive soccer player growing up, and I was like with my soccer team 24/7, and then we all got our periods at the same time. Is there a bunch of science around if you're around people a lot, especially other women, you will actually get onto the same cycle?
Cycle sisters.
Cycle sisters?
I mean, there's a lot of studies that say it is, and then there's a lot of studies that says it doesn't, right? So I think that it's measuring, you know, what studies are out there. There's still a lot of research that needs to be done about periods and menstrual hygiene and what happens when you're on your period. And I think like that's one of the reasons I wanted to write this book too, of like we still have so much work to do even in general research about menstruation, right? One of the conditions that affects over 10% of women in the US is called endometriosis, which is this like very intense period pain, right? And the majority of people who have endometriosis don't even know that they have it because the conversation isn't there to diagnose it early on, right? And like that's a condition of the body that we should have a solution to that we don't yet.
And it left untreated, it can make things a lot worse, right? So having the conversation early is prevention.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's also the conversation of women not being able to really like express to their doctors their pain, and they're not being listened to. I feel like I've seen that a lot with Lena Dunham recently. She had her ovary removed, and she was saying like she had to work so hard for the doctors just to take her seriously because they were like, "You're not really in pain," and you're like, "Why?"
I mean, it's the same thing with like uterine fibroids. Like African American women get uterine fibroids like 2 times as much as any other racial or ethnic group, and it's crazy because a big part of the work we have to do is just to tell all communities like what your options are, right? Because you can see like rates of like 2 times as many chances of having uterine fibroids correlate directly to like 3 times as many hysterectomies, right? So a big part of our work is especially educating like low-income communities who don't have access to streams of education on this. Like, here are your options. You don't have to get a hysterectomy. Like, what do you know for period management and things like that?
Yeah, and you started Period, which is the largest youth-run non-governmental organization in women's health. That's huge. So could you tell us the process behind that and what your inspiration was?
Yeah, so my passion for periods comes from a really personal place. I founded the organization when I was 16 after my family experienced living without a home of our own. And during that time, my commute to school turned to about 2 hours long on public transportation. And where I would change buses was in Old Town Portland, Oregon, where there were like 10 homeless shelters in a 2-block radius. And I basically became accidental friends with these homeless women who were in much worse living situations than I was in, and collected these stories of their using toilet paper, socks, brown paper grocery bags, cardboard to take care of their period. And it just made me mad, right? And it's sort of a privilege check, even in this time when my family was legally homeless. Like, I had the privilege check of like, I've never had to use trash to take care of something so natural, right? And I got angry about that, and then developed this sort of unhealthy obsession with periods, and spent all my free time like looking it up on Google, learning about the tampon tax and the fact that periods are the #1 reason why girls miss school in developing countries, and all of these statistics that just kept kind of, you know, just garnering this sort of fire in me that I hadn't felt before. And I think I was sort of ready to do something bigger because you know, at the age of 16, I was coming out of my first really abusive relationship where sexual assault was a pretty regular part of my life, and I just needed something to feel very empowered. So I literally looked up on Google, like, what is a nonprofit? Because I knew that as a code word of how to do something good. I looked up, like, what is a 501c3? What is a board of directors? What is the IRS, right? You know, gathered, like, a few friends of mine, specifically my co-founder, Vincent Forand, who's a guy, a non-menstruating male-identifying person. And we looked up those questions, asked people. Our starting board was my mom and his dad, because we weren't old enough to sign any of the documents, and we just did whatever we could. It was literally raising money in any way we could. I tried busking on the street, like anything. And just by posting on social media, we started getting support from students all over the country. And now we have over 230 registered campus chapters at universities and high schools around the U.S.
Wow.
That
is amazing.
You're an incredibly accomplished and inspiring, and you were actually one of the 5 21 to 21 honorees are featured in a very, very special Teen Vogue, which I rushed out to get, because why wouldn't I? That was guest edited by former Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton, and you actually had an opportunity to ask her a question. What was that like, talking to her and getting to ask her about running for office as a woman?
You know, it was incredible, because actually when I got to interview Hillary Clinton was at the time when I was running for office. So 2017 I ran for Cambridge City Council. We didn't win, but we made history with student turnout, and that was enough for me to, you know. But I interviewed her at this time when I was like exhausted and canvassing every day, and just like, how do I maintain authenticity? How do I know who I am? And then I got to meet like the person who ran for president of the United States, right? And all of the questions I asked her were like, how do you maintain your authenticity, right? I think what was most amazing about it was that experience totally humanized Hillary Clinton, right? Because so much of the criticism against her was always that she was too polished, too rehearsed. It wasn't who she actually was. But I think her poise that comes off as maybe being too rehearsed is just her being so confident and calm in her voice and knowing what to say. And you felt that even when the cameras were off. When the cameras were off, she was still holding your hand and asking you, how are you? Are you getting enough sleep? Did you have some breakfast today? Like her, like that sort of rehearsed tone is just like the sort of the kindness that she has, right? And I always tell people, and I don't know if this is maybe not nice for me to say, but what I couldn't stop staring at when I was interviewing her was her hands, right? Because I think that you can't hide age or like personality from hands, and her hands are just like, you know, someone who's older and really worked their ass off, like their hands, right? And I think that when we were interviewing, like you can see my eyes are down. I'm literally staring at her hands because her face looks perfect and polished and makeup, but her hands are still like, these hands that have been working for decades to like change the world for the better. And I think that it was just an experience where like all the criticism of her being too rehearsed or anything just totally went away.
I love that.
Oh yeah,
And
that's so beautiful.
from your own campaign and your experience talking to Hillary, do you see right now that millennials are fired up, that we have a real shot of taking back at least the House?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that it really not only depends on millennials, but also Generation Z, so the generation right after millennials. Like, we have a huge opportunity in less than a month, and I'm really excited about it because I think that we can really make a difference in it, but I'm also nervous because I think that when you look at the numbers of who is eligible to vote, it really is millennials and Gen Z. Like, we can make the difference if we turn out. We don't have the record of turning out to vote, but if we do turn out, we could really sway it, right? And so I think that, like, I very much think that if we don't win the House back, we, as young people, have to take responsibility because it means we didn't turn out enough, right? And that's one of the things I'm working on is, like, really mobilizing Generation Z and just trying to, like, mobilize us to, like, take action because we are a huge population of eligible voters.
Nadia, what's next for you?
Yeah, so when you run for president, can I be part of your campaign?
Years, yeah.
I'm really focusing on this book and, continuing to grow, period. We just brought on another full-time staff and sort of, really growing this organization and, doing book tour and book promo. And I just hopped on also as Chief Brand Officer at a Gen Z marketing consulting firm called Juve Consulting. So doing a lot of work just to mobilize people around engaging the young generation.
Wow. Well, Nadia, I'm so happy that you Googled what a nonprofit was because you're doing so much good for so many people. So thank you for that. And everyone, make sure to pick up a copy of Period Power and check out Natalie's youth-run NGO at www.period.org. We'll see you guys on Monday. Britt, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you guys for having me.
Same time, same table. Bye.